Hey, what's up guys, it's KingXF and welcome back to another video. So first things first, it's New Year's Eve and I just want to wish y'all a happy new year, as well as thank you guys so much for your continuous support for my channel. It's been a great year and we've really come a long way. And as for my reasoning behind why I don't upload often, it's because I began my freshman year of high school this August. And so I've just been receiving so much homework from classes such as Human Geography AP and Humanities that I just haven't had the time to write scripts and record videos for y'all. And so I really do apologize for that. And so as we embark on this new decade, I hope to upload more often and hopefully give back to y'all as well. And for my channel to prosper. And I also hope that whatever goals that you have in mind right now, you can accomplish them too. Anyway, enough of that, let's go ahead and jump right into this review of the Razer Huntsman Tournament Edition gaming keyboard. Starting off with basic design, the Huntsman TE is a TKL or 10 keyless gaming keyboard for easier transportability due to its compact form factor. There are no dedicated multimedia keys, but you can still use them via holding FN and any of the function keys on the topmost row of the keyboard. The cable is a detachable braided USB-C to USB 3.0 one, and it also includes a cable tie for better organization. Mashing down super hard will yield little to no flex at all. It also has a matte aluminum top plate, which gives it a nice and sleek design to it. Flipping the Huntsman Tournament Edition over on the backside, you have 4 rubber pads that keep the keyboard from sliding around on your desk, as well as 2-step angle adjustment. The first is at 6 degrees, and the second one is at 9 degrees. Also on the underside are the words from Razer's motto printed in a glossy texture: "For gamers, by gamers." Unfortunately, there is no wrist rest included in the box or any other accessories such as a keycap puller or extra keycaps for important keys used for gaming. There is also no sign of branding anywhere on this keyboard except for the word Razer lightly printed in gloss above the arrow keys. With the majority of the physical features out of the way, let's move into the more technical aspects. First off, it has a 1000 Hz polling rate or a 1 millisecond delay, full NQ rollover with anti-ghosting, 100% fully programmable keys, on-the-go macro recording, an option for gaming mode which disables keys such as Windows or Alt F4, hybrid onboard storage for up to 5 profiles, Razer Synapse 3 compatibility, and 16.8 million color RGB lighting. There is, however, no USB pass-through port, which I can understand as that's a bit inconvenient for on-the-go use, for it'll have to take up 2 USB slots on your motherboard's I/O. Another big thing about the Huntsman TE is the fact that it's the first keyboard from Razer to include stock PBT double shot keycaps. This way, you no longer need to worry about getting that dreadful ABS shine on your keyboard anymore. These stock keycaps have a satisfying touch to them due to the textured matte finish, and also so keeps the minimalistic font Razer's been using for their past few keyboards, which I really appreciate. Even better, it's now in a standard bottom row layout, meaning that you can use custom keycaps such as a pudding set for better accentuation of the RGB lighting. The keys with secondary characters are finally illuminated, so I'm now able to use the keyboard in the dark due to the fact that I can see them easily without having to turn on a light. The media functions, however, aren't shine through, which leaves me scratching my head a bit, because if you can do it for the secondary characters, then you can do it for these as well. Another thing to note is the fact that the Huntsman TE has an exposed switch design for easier replacement of keycaps as well as cleaning of the keyboard. That does mean that the RGB won't be as bright due to the backplate being black, which absorbs light as opposed to reflecting it. If they do make a white version of this keyboard in the future, then this would no longer be a problem. The stabilizers are also very nicely constructed with minimal rattle and no mushy feeling of any sort. The larger keys do have these clips on them, which helps connect them to the stabilizers themselves. Finally, for the star of the show, the switches that lie underneath the keycap. The new Razer Opto-mechanical linear switches manufactured by LK, which are exclusive only to their Huntsman lineup of keyboards. The slider is red in color, and they have a 40 gram actuation force and 1.0 millimeter actuation point, making it Razer's lightest and fastest switch up to date. Another thing they feature is a dedicated stabilizer for each individual switch for obviously added stability, but that does make them a tad bit rattly when you shake the keyboard. Because of how fast they are, you may have some trouble adjusting to these switches, and you'll most likely make a good amount of typing errors. I was coming from Cherry MX Browns, and it did take me a good week to get used to these linear optomechanical switches. On the bright side, that does mean you will be pressing your keys before anyone else in game, which gives you a bit of an advantage. The Razer Red switches have a 100 million key press lifespan as opposed to 80 million for Razer's standard mechanical switches and 50 million for the industry standard Cherry MX switches. So you may be wondering, why are optical switches better than regular mechanical switches, and what are the differences between the two? It's because of their method of actuation. With standard mechanical switches, they have a metal leaf actuation method. So upon actuation, there will be a bit of a debounce delay, so there will be a few milliseconds before the signal actually registers to the computer. With optical switches, they use a laser beam to actuate. When the slider is depressed, it allows the laser to pass through, hitting the sensor and registering the key instantly with no delay at all. Because there's no physical contact between any components, that results in less degradation of parts and increased lifespan. I'll just say this, these switches feel buttery smooth and sound absolutely incredible. And with the inclusion of these PBT double shot keycaps, it adds some even more thought to it. And now let's do a sound test of these linear optomechanical switches so y'all can listen of pure magnificence. Moving on to software, the Huntsman Tournament Edition uses Razer's Synapse 3. With this, you can mess around with the lighting effects as well as program macro keys. Chances are you've seen Razer's lighting effects, but I'll show them to you once again in case you haven't. Synapse is one of the most user-friendly softwares out there, but one annoyance is the fact that you have to sign in to use it. However, you can now sign in as a guest, so you won't need to tell them your email and other personal information. Let's talk about pricing now. The Razer Huntsman Tournament Edition comes in at $130. Now, considering its features, the PBT double shot keycaps, the optomechanical switches, the amazing RGB lighting, and so on, this is actually not that bad a price for it. Now, Razer could have easily charged this for more than it already is, but they didn't, and so I really appreciate them for doing so. Now for the pros and cons and my final verdict. For pros, I really like the fact that there's a detachable braided cable because it's super convenient for when you're bringing it elsewhere, and combined with the 10 keyless form factor, it makes it even easier to take around with you because it takes much less space than a full-sized one. Another huge pro are the PBT keycaps. For those that make this their main keyboard, you no longer have to worry about finger and oil prints being left on the keycaps, which makes it look much better as well. Speaking of keycaps, I also really appreciate Razer for making the secondary characters illuminated unlike their previous boards. The stabilizers are spectacular, which is worth noting. The optomechanical switches are also a nice touch, and quite literally as well. Ultra durable lifespan, buttery smooth, satisfying sound, quick actuation, you name it. I also like the fact that there's a 2-step angle adjustment. Even though I don't personally use it, but for those that do, you can get either a more or less inclined typing experience depending on your personal preference. As for cons, there's only really two I could think of, and they aren't even that big either. The first one being the media keys on the function row not being illuminated. Though it's not that big a deal, I still feel like they could have at least made them to be visible while you're typing in the dark. The other con is the lack of switch options. As of now, only the linear variants of the optomechanical switches are available on the Huntsman TE, so you cannot choose the clicky ones. Again, for typists, you might make a lot of errors due to the 1.0mm actuation, and because there's no tactile bump, nor is there a click letting you know when you've actuated the switch. So quick heads up, you may need to train your fingers a bit in order to get used to these switches. So to wrap it up in a nutshell, would I recommend the Razer Huntsman TE? The answer is a huge yes. At its price point of $130 and its overall features it has, it's honestly a great buy. Whether it's the keycaps, the switches, or the other things, everything about this keyboard is basically perfect. Obviously, everyone has their personal preferences, but for me personally, I highly recommend that you purchase this, as this is one of the best keyboards that I have ever tried. Anyway, that'll conclude my review of the Razer Huntsman Tournament Edition. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up to show your support, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. Be sure to join my Discord server, I'm KingXF, and have a happy new year. I will see y'all in the next decade.